Welcome to Sportsworld from Jakarta, Indonesia, where come July the 29th, this magnificent Gelora Bung Karno Stadium will be packed with 100,000 football fans for the final of the Asian Cup. Coming up, big mistake. The nations putting on this tournament aren't exactly known for their footballing pedigree. How will they cope as hosts on and off the field? Australia were the first nation to qualify for the tournament. They're one of the favourites in what is their first Asian Cup. Here in force, what kind of threat will the West Asian nations pose? And also this week, the great race, battling for credibility. The Tour de France spins into action in London. But first to the Asian Cup, a tournament that brings together the best footballers from around the region. This year's tournament will be held in not one but 4 different nations, a plan the organisers have already admitted may have been a bit of a mistake. So how will Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand and Vietnam cope with their moments in the spotlight? None of those teams can be described as footballing powerhouses, but they may just have what it takes to cause a few surprises on and off the pitch. If Indonesia are hoping for any sort of success in the Asian Cup, this is the man they will need to turn to. This injury-ravaged squad is in search of some inspiration, and it could well come in the form of BUMBANG PAMUNGKAS. The 27-year-old is one of Indonesia's best and proved he's coming into some form with 2 goals in a recent friendly against Jamaica.
Today I'm very happy because I can deliver something for my team, and 2 goals is especially when we win the game, but the most important thing is the performance of the team.
Their performance is well below what it should be though. Indonesians love their football, but the ability of the national team doesn't match that public passion. And in this part of the world, they're not the only ones. In fact, the FIFA World Rankings make for sorry reading for all 4 Southeast Asian nations hosting the tournament. The worst of them is Malaysia at 149 in the world, despite having a population of 27 million. Then comes Indonesia at 143 with 234 million people. Vietnam are at 142, population 85 million. And the best of them, Thailand, at 122 with 64 million. Somewhat embarrassing statistics when you continue down the rankings to such nations as Equatorial Guinea with 500,000 people, and even the tiny Cape Verde Islands off the western coast of Africa with a population just over 400,000 can muster 11 players capable of taking them to number 77 in the world. There's clearly an imbalance in Southeast Asia, and those who run the game believe the key to improvement is embracing professionalism.
One thing for sure, that even Asia in general, we realize that, we need to improve our leagues and our clubs system and the standards, before we even think about to be good in the international arena. Although, also I'm telling you that, we have some teams who are very strong in Asia, but whenever they are living the Asian environment, they show that they cannot stand against the strong competition.
English football is huge in Southeast Asia, partly because there's a big appetite for gambling. But their fascination with the Premier League doesn't filter down to their domestic game. In fact, the public interest being focused offshore must be causing more harm than good.
Generally, I think most of us don't even know the names of the players that's going to play. I think most of the football fans here would know the English players' name by heart. Even the children would know who's Ronaldo, who is, Ryan Giggs and all that, or even Owen, who they know, but they wouldn't know who are the Malaysian players, the name of the Malaysian players.
My dad played for Malaysia, and his brothers, as one of them, captained Malaysia in the Merdeka tournament. So the stories that I used to hear when I was a kid is that at those days, it was like a pride to actually don the national jersey. But nowadays, they are actually more for monetary gains. they perform so well for their clubs, but when it comes to the national duties, like some of them even half-heartedly not wanting to actually play for the national side. I just don't know why.
Indeed, the Malaysian team will be struggling to make any impact in their group, and it seems any lingering public patience is running out. They were booed from the field after an inept Asian Cup warm-up defeat.
I do not see them actually progressing from their group, to be honest, but I would hope that they would put up a decent performance so that actually they can gain back the faith and the trust of the Malaysian fans.
It'll be a surprise if the Vietnamese fans have much to celebrate in a group that features strong opponents Japan and Qatar, while Thailand will find life equally tough against Australia and Iraq. The Indonesians have gone back to the future, reappointing Bulgarian Ivan Kolev to the national job in January. He last coached the side 3 years ago, and he says the challenge is huge.
We're going to have to make a lot of improvements in the team, and if you want to talk about this in detail, we're going to have to spend at least 2 days. Therefore, let me tell you this in general, that what we need to improve in the team is how to cooperate, defence, skills and technical matters.
Kolev's aim is to take Indonesia into the top 8 in Asia. If that were to happen this month, that would mean making the quarter-finals of the Asian Cup. But the coach says his goals are longer term.
I know the Indonesian people are expecting and waiting for good results, but I also understand very well that unfortunately we started very late with a team that's also not a very good team. They started from a very low level, so I have to be realistic. What I'm thinking now is how to move forward and to face the future.
The governing body has also now realised that the nation's huge population on its own is not enough to produce a competitive national team.
We have a development program since we have also the development program for the youth. We will develop a school of excellence, and as well also we will send our under 15 players to play in youth competitions in Uruguay for 3 years. And I do hope with this program, one of our steps to get more national players, best national players in our country.
There is no doubt there is a lot of potential in this part of the world, and if they can fill these massive stadiums, there is the potential for the odd upset during the Asian Cup. No less than 7 of the 16 competing nations here are from West Asia. And because of the political situations, many of them have to overcome huge obstacles just to get here. Despite that, they produce strong football teams, and Iran in particular has assembled a side that will be among the most feared.
The football fans of the Gulf will no doubt be amongst the most vocal of this Asian Cup. Up to 7 teams from the region are taking part in the finals. The main challenge will probably come from Iran. The Islamic Republic are 3-time winners of this competition. However, since their last Asian Cup triumph in 1976, the team has underachieved. Many thought the World Cup in 2006 would be the team's big breakthrough, but after 2 defeats and a draw in Germany, the team went home after the first stage.
I really don't know the reason why they don't play so good. There were any problems they had. I don't know what the problems were, but they had a good team. So I really don't know the reason.
What are your chances in the Asian Cup?
This year we have 5-6 legends in this team. They are young players in the back, and they have a good team. So we hope they will have a good tournament.
Iran's failure at the World Cup meant the coach was replaced, and the change certainly had the desired effect as the team went on to top their qualifying group. The new man in charge hopes that that momentum can now be carried forward into the finals.
I think all the teams will be hard to beat, but there are 5 or 6 who can win the title, like Australia, South Korea, Japan and Saudi Arabia. We hope to show a strong level in the competition, and we have a good chance to win it for the first time in 30 years.
Iran's neighbour to the west, Iraq, may not have the same pedigree, but the fact they've even reached this stage is a victory in itself. With all the turmoil in their country, the team still qualified for the finals as group winners. Their new coach hoping that their success can unite the country and to give its people a respite from the troubles back home.
I'm not going there only to participate. There is 4 teams. In this moment, all teams, they have a chance to pass to the second round. You know, I'm going to work to go to the final. I cannot promise because I don't have a crystal ball with me, but I'm preparing my players, my group to work, mentalize them to be faced to the problems, then to absorb the problems and go to do their best to go to the final.
Well, if you talk to the Iraqi and Iranian football fans, maybe not surprisingly, they all say they're going to win the Asian Cup this year. But perhaps more important than that, the competition gives them the chance for people to talk about their football rather than politics. And if they can do that, for their fans at least, their Asian Cup campaigns will have to be seen as a success. For Saudi Arabia, success will be trying to improve on their last Asian Cup showing, when they were knocked out in the first round. This recent performance against fellow Asian Cup finalists, the United Arab Emirates, suggesting they should make the quarter-finals at the very least. As for the UAE, well, their hopes will depend on the man who inspired them to victory in the Gulf Cup earlier this year, Ismail Mater. However, fellow Gulf teams Bahrain and Oman will do well to make it to the quarter-finals, as both find themselves in tough groups. So what of the final team in the Gulf, Qatar? Well, the country won gold at the Asian Games football back in December, and many of that team will be playing in the Asian Cup. Another thing to consider is that the league here in Qatar is one of the strongest in the region. In fact, the general standard of football in the Gulf is on the up and up. So while most people, quite rightly, would have Australia and Japan as their favourites, don't be too surprised to find a team from this part of the world lining up in the final in Jakarta on July the 29th. Rahul Pathak, Al Jazeera, Doha.
Don't forget, you can keep up to date with all the latest sports news on our website, aljazeera.net/English. Stay with us because coming up, it's the Tainted Tour. Can cycling showpiece overcome the drugs debacle?